Hello, my friends. It's Thursday, November 7th, 2024, and this is the Daily Brief, your source for information about the war in Ukraine. 1,400 Russians off the battlefield overnight, 10 tanks, 20 armored fighting vehicles, 24 artillery systems, 78 vehicles, and fuel tanks. So the tempo is about where the tempo has been, and I'm going to show you what that means in casualties. I'll do this a little bit more graphically in just a little bit. The Ukrainian military says that they shot down 74 out of 106 drones, Russian Shahed drones, or Iranian Shahed drones launched by Russia. Another 25 drones were locationally lost. That doesn't mean that they didn't still have some impact, and I'll show you some of the impact. While the U.S. forbids, this is the Kyiv Post with some commentary, while the U.S. still forbids Ukraine from striking back, Russia again unleashes a massive swarm of kamikaze drones on Ukraine's civilian population, targeting apartment buildings, shopping areas, families sleeping in their beds. And so this is what it ultimately looks like when these drones are launched. Now, a lot of them were shot down or hit with electronic warfare and knocked down. Anton Gurushenko talking about Kyiv last night. Each night, Russia attacks our peaceful cities. Today, 6 Kyiv districts suffered damage from the Russian drone strike. Now, I want you to hear what it actually sounds like, a Russian drone or a Shahed drone going overhead. Another attack in Kyiv, Shaheds flying extremely low near residential buildings. Local media report. Reports suggest that UAVs are passing just meters from high-rise buildings, complicating air defense efforts. These are 3 soldiers who are not necessarily the swiftest. These 3 Russian soldiers set a civilian house on fire and then stood nearby, oblivious to the approach of a drone. Well, the putting the house on fire might have indicated to a drone who can spot it from a long distance away, hey, there's something over there. Their use of fascist tactics, burning homes, quickly resulted in karma. You're not going to see the karma, but you'll see them just standing around and after they set a house on fire, which wasn't necessarily the smartest idea. And you can kind of understand how the drone could find them given that they just set that on fire and it's creating a big smoke plume and easy to spot. So the drone just swings around and decides it's going to come over here and find them and hover over them just long enough to, well, you get the idea of what's about to happen next. You're not going to see that for YouTube. Okay, in exchange for about 40,000 Russian casualties in a single 31-day period, the highest equipment losses in 2 years of the war, October saw the Russian T state manage to occupy an additional 0.08% of Ukrainian land. That's not 8%, that's not 0.8%, that's 0.8%, right? So this is not a lot of ground, but to give you a sense of, I want to point out 2 things here. 40,000 Russian casualties. So October would have been the highest month of the war, just after September. At a cost of about, now this is a different clip about the same thing, it cost about 80 Russian casualties per square kilometer. Okay, what does 80,000 or 80 Russian casualties per square kilometer look like? So a square kilometer is about, for those of you in the United States, about a third of a mile. Okay, 80 casualties per third of a mile. So I try to, get a sense of what that looks like. So I use a soccer field, or for those of you in Europe, a football field or an American football field. And for the soccer field, I'm going to use that just to set it apart. For the soccer field, there's about 136 soccer fields in a square kilometer. Now, there's about 187 American football fields in a square kilometer. So 160 is about the average between. So if you just expand one or reduce the other and you have 2 of these fields, you have about a casualty, a Russian casualty for every 2 of these fields, roughly speaking. And that's what it's cost the Russians to take this kind of ground. Okay. Now let's look at what happened yesterday. Yesterday, Ukraine targeted the Caspian Sea fleet, or the Black Sea fleet that had retreated to the Caspian Sea, and hit the Tatarstan and Dagestan frigates. and they actually did some damage to them. It appears they may have sustained, and some other ships nearby may have sustained damage as well. According to the ISW, which analyzed the Ukrainian drone strike on the Russian ships in the Caspian Sea, the report indicates that Ukrainian drones targeted a naval base, damaging these two ships, as well as perhaps several other corvettes nearby. Meanwhile, the Dagestan Republic head stated on November 6th that Russian forces shot down a Ukrainian drone over Kaspisk, though he did not specify the impact of the incident. And they never do specify the impact of the incident. We shot everything down. Well, okay, but then if you shot it down, why are two ships damaged? Okay. Other news around the world. Britain has announced its largest package of Russian sanctions in a year and a half, slapping punitive measures on 56 people and entities linked to the war. Zelensky is now in Budapest for the European Political Community Summit. He's going to meet with Charles Mitchell, and they're going to be talking about, like, what's our path forward now that Trump is the new president as of January. How are we going to change here? South Korea's president says he's not ruling out direct weapons to Ukraine. This has been ongoing, and they're looking at that. Now, remember, you have a completely new dynamic with Trump coming to power, because what Biden has done or has not done is kind of going out, and what Trump has done in the past or will do in the future is coming back into focus. Remember, Trump had sharp disagreements with Kim. Kim is now linked with Putin, and South Korea is an ally of the United States. That nothing there will change. Trump hates Iran, right? And it's Iran that's linked to Putin. So it's a really convoluted thing that we're going to have to try to figure out. Okay, Biden plans to transfer $6 billion in aid to Ukraine before Trump's inauguration. Politico quoted the White House official saying, "It's noted that the president's team is preparing for the fact that after the Republican takes office, arms deliveries will stop." That's probably true, at least in the short run. We don't know exactly how that'll play out, but they're trying to make sure that they're spending that aid before Trump can do anything about that. And okay, so that aid will get there. That's another $6 billion, and that'll be very important. Michael McFaul posted this yesterday at about 11 o'clock. He said, "Today would be a good day for Biden to lift restrictions on our use of weapons by Ukraine in Russia. Putin's not going to use nuclear weapons. 2 months Trump comes into office, no way." But I just don't see it happening. I mean, I just don't see Biden actually doing that, because Biden's fundamental, deep down, like where I don't think that Trump has a internal compass about ideologically about what he's going to do. He's going to do what fits at the time. He's going to be very transactional. Pretty much everybody agrees to that. Biden, very deep down, ideologically does not want to provoke, because he has a allergic reaction to escalation. So, okay. In Russia, a woman stole butter from a store. She was offered to go to war. Ekaterina, 33, was accused of stealing 29 packs of butter from a store, and local law enforcers tried to persuade her to sign a contract with the defense ministry, but she refused. Wow, how about that? Over butter. Okay, that's where the Russians are. Keep supporting us. We have no choice other than to continue our struggle. Stand with Ukraine, says Dennis from Kharkiv. That's right. I mean, like, they have to keep this fight up, so keep standing with them. I noticed this really weird trend. It's not just on my channel, and I thought, wow, okay, well, I guess people don't like me anymore, but it's not just me. Most pro-Ukraine YouTubers have lost a substantial amount. I mean, I've lost hundreds of subscribers. Most have lost since Donald Trump was elected. They just bailed. Like, why they bailed, we're not exactly sure. Maybe they're just depressed or feel bad about. Don't do that. If you're feeling like, I can't handle it anymore, just remember, like, this is a third winter that we're going into of Ukrainians protecting NATO from a coalition of their enemies, while NATO members enjoy nice warm cafes and sleep in their own beds, but defenders are on the ground like this. Look, I'm not going anywhere. I would urge you not to. I was doing this on Christmas Day, on the 4th of July, on Christmas Day the year before, and I'll be back on Christmas Day this year. Please stand with us, stand with Ukraine. By the way, some days it's hard to find motivation, and some days motivation finds you. I think that's where we are right now. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person who continues to stand with Ukraine.